plugins that Line 6 haven't really done to date is to have something like Helix Native that could be run standalone. That is until today. So Line 6 brought out this Metallurgy collection, which is a collection of 3 plugins, Doom, Thrash and Modern, which are all focused kind of towards the heavier end of things, but they're kind of more versatile than the name suggests. And you know, I'm not exactly a heavy player all the time, or at all even, so I wanted to do some videos as well on my channel just exploring some of the breadth of what you can do with these plugins. The gist of each one goes something like you've got 4 amps on each, and then you've got a selection of pre-effects, you know, so whether those are fuzzies, drive pedals, phaser in one case, this sort of thing. And then you've got a collection of post effects, which are things like delay, reverb, or the ADT, which is like Line 6's automatic double tracking, one of their new kind of 3.15 things. So a collection of effects from the Helix, as well as new amps that aren't in the Helix as yet. So we've got the Peavey Invective, which is the Misha Mansoor signature amp from Peavey. So this is something that's going to make people that are looking for 5150 tones really happy. You've got the crunch and lead channel of that. You've got the SUNN amp, so I think sludge doom metal guys may know what this is. You know, you've got that in there. We've also got the life pedal, so the Earthquaker Devices SUNN life pedal. They've done that for this, as well as a bunch of other amps that you've got in the Helix as well. But the real key thing is that you've got a standalone app now, so you don't even need to run your DAW to have this stuff. The other really exciting thing, and I think this is big news for a few reasons, is that Line 6 have done a new cab section for this app specifically, but we don't know whether the future might bring this sort of thing, this sort of technology to the Helix. I don't know, I'm speculating. But for instance, you've got a room mic available now, you've got positioning of the mics, and you've got angling of the mics as well, so you can position your mic, you know, anywhere around the cone, and you know, put it off axis. So a really more advanced cab section than we've ever seen from Line 6 before, as well as a room mic which we can switch between a ribbon mic or a condenser, so that's pretty cool. There's an EQ section as well, and then a few other little features. We've got a poly capo, so you know, you've got the ability to change the pitch. So you could go down -5 or up +5, and then also you've got this kind of anti-flub technology, which is called focus filter, and you could use this for, you know, heavier metal tones. I think one of the key things that people like to do is to shave off some of that low end. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of the overview. I'll jump into the actual stuff and show you some of the full things here. But you know, there'll be demos that I've done specifically for each. They're not going to necessarily be heavy focused or anything like that, but I thought it was quite exciting for me to see that Line 6 is stepping into the kind of plugin route. It's also kind of like a more curated kind of take than the Helix Native, and I think a bit of a simpler workflow if you were looking for that. So if you're used to things like the Neural DSP plugins or ML audio stuff, you know, STL, all these kind of things, it's more of that kind of simpler, kind of pared down approach where you're just choosing from a curated kind of setup where you've got, you know, where you've got your pre-effects, you've got your amp, you've got your cabs to choose from, and then you've got some post effects. It's a much simpler kind of workflow, as well as Igor has put together some really cool presets. So if you don't know, this guy actually works outside of Line 6 in the industry in quite an interesting way, and if you are interested in bands like Animals as Leaders, for example, Igor does the live sound for them. I hope he doesn't mind me telling you that. I better check that. But yeah, quite a talented producer, I think it's fair to say, and mixer and all that sort of stuff. And so it's really cool to have him worked on some sounds, and I just plugged those in and I think they sound really cool. So yeah. Right, so if you wanted some idea of what it's like to actually use the plugin, can't resize the screen. This is Modern. one of the nice things about this is that there's a bunch of settings like these mix ready settings, so you can just pull those up and put them on the left and right hand side of track stuff, and it tends to sound really good. I've experimented with that. So yeah, a real range of tones. And on the modern you've got a clon and a horizon gate as well. But it's not all necessarily about kind of just crazy gainy tones. We've got, for instance, the archetype clean. So you can get some really pretty cleans out of it, and you've got this dynamic hall, which we know from Helix is awesome. A huge reverb. Aspects that we've also got here, if I just pull up a rhythm tone, let's try Moon Presence or something. We've got the capo, which obviously is going to detune us. Then for this sort of stuff we've got a focus filter here, and you'll see you've got these really helpful tool tips. The focus filter on or off, adjust the knob to the right to reduce boominess and focus your low end, preamplifier positioned high pass filter that cuts 12 dB per octave. I'll just pull up Doom as well, just so you can get a sense of the variety here. So Doom, for me, is a little bit more not my kind of wheelhouse. We've got a fuzz, a bighorn fuzz, a ringer fuzz, a vital, which is the life pedal, a phaser. You know, so if I pull up like a lead tone. So a real range there, and then let's just bring up Thrash quickly. Similarly, I think this is probably the one for me where I feel most at home, so kind of rhythm tones. We've got a few different we're not stuck with anything that's not totally musical, so that's really cool. Particularly the Revv Clean, whoops, I really like. Some of the amps have reverb on them as well. So I think generally, I think there's some really exciting stuff there. So yeah, that's kind of what each of them has to offer and what they look like to use them. And also you've got noise reduction here, which generally, I think, a really compelling little set of stuff, and you'll probably see me doing quite a lot more of these. I think there's a bunch of cool tones. It's really nice to have this new cab section, new stuff to play around with, and some new amp models on Doom and Modern. So yeah, good. So I was actually a beta tester, if you're like me or Leon Todd, where we talk English and Australian, for all of this stuff. So I've had some time playing with them kind of standalone and in the DAW. If I had to pick one to go with, I think it would either be Modern or Thrash. For me, Doom is the kind of weirdest and most out of my comfort zone of the plugins. You know, there's 3 fuzz pedals in that one. I'm not really a fuzz aficionado, and you know, they've got the SUNN amp in that one, which for sure is going to be way up some people's street, but I'm not into that kind of music as far as I'm aware. There is the Rockerverb in that though, which I think is actually a fairly versatile amp and one worth having. And then there's the mail order twin, which is one of my favourite clean amps on the Helix. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts. There's the Doom amp as well, which I've done stuff with recently. But I think I'd go with Modern. Modern has the dynamic hall in it as well, the reverb. So I think Modern has got that Peavey Invective as well, which is, I think, one of the cooler amps that's come out in modern times. You know, kind of a Peavey 5150 crunch and lead channel. So I think Modern might be a good shout, and Thrash for me, it's got a Mesa Boogie Mark IV in it, so that for me is kind of where I feel quite comfortable. It's also got the Friedman BEOD, a jazz rivet, so for some really nice clean tones you could do some jazz stuff on that even, so it might end up being really versatile in that way. And then again, actually the Modern has got the PRS Archon clean and drive channel, so there's a lot of versatility in Modern and Thrash in particular, so I think I'd go with those 2, but I think you can get all 3 of them for cheaper if you do choose to get all 3 rather than just one. So yeah, maybe check them out in the trials. Let me know if you want me to drop these presets in. I can just put them into my normal Helix folder if you want, some of the stuff that I've been playing with, but I think are really cool, in my opinion anyway. I tend to like most of what Line 6 does, but I kind of dig that they're reaching into this standalone kind of plugin, or is it a plugin? You know, standalone guitar modelling app thing. It's a plugin, isn't it? Well, is it a plugin if you're not plugging it into anything? Anyway, yeah, good fun. Cheers.